Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Watch It Bro podcast. I am Tristan,
And I am Marshall.
and we are here to talk about the great outdoors. The
The
first
movie, not
movie,
the actual outdoors.
maybe a little from column A and a little from column B, but
Probably.
this is the first movie that we are looking at that takes place in the 1980s and not the 1990s.
Correct.
Had to think about that, did you?
Briefly. I know it sounded longer.
We've only done 5 movies. This is our
True.
5th one.
True.
And the rest of them were like, gosh, have they all been 1991? No.
No. No.
But The Great Outdoors, it was released June 17th, 1988, directed by Howard Deutsch, who did Pretty in Pink and Some Kind of Wonderful with John Hughes, who this was written by. It stars John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, Stephanie Perret, I can't read my handwriting, Annette Bening, and Robert Prosky.
I believe this was Annette Bening's first movie, her debut film.
Was it her first? Because
Yes.
I remember I watched this with Rachel, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's Annette Bening," and I'm like, "Sorry, who's Annette Bening? I know the name, but I don't really know her work."
I know she was in Captain Marvel.
I never saw Captain Marvel.
Really? I thought I made
Really?
you watch that.
No, you made me watch Black Panther. Anyway,
It was her first movie, but it was not her first appearance. She had been on TV before. But
okay.
this was her first movie. Did I derail you already?
Yeah, I'm tired. It's been a long day, and we're recording about 2 hours later than we usually do. And I'm old, and I go to bed early. So here we are.
That's why I got caffeine.
Is that vanilla Coke?
It is a vanilla Coke. The best kind.
It was so good.
The best kind of Coke. I liked vanilla Pepsi better, but they don't make that anymore.
No, well, Pepsi Vanilla and Vanilla Coke were both discontinued the same year in 2007, and then Vanilla Coke made a comeback in 2012.
Interesting.
I just looked this up today. I was talking to my coworker about it, actually, funny enough. So The Great Outdoors.
Yes, the great outdoors.
We're getting derailed on Soda Pop.
I know. This is a Tristan-led movie, so
Yes, this was the one I picked that I actually came up with on the fly because I had 2 other movies that I wanted to do, and one of them was too similar to My Cousin Vinny, and the other one I wanted to do it, and then like I thought, oh, The Great Outdoors, and I'm like, I'm doing that one.
before I get a chance to swipe it up.
Well, I don't think we're keeping score of who picks what movie. It came to my mind, and I was like, yes, I'm really excited about The Great Outdoors, and I want to do it. So, I threw away my other 2 movies and decided quickly on The Great Outdoors.
We can keep score with the podcast metrics.
Well, I have it all numbered on my computer anyway, so it's pretty easy to keep score. We could have the fans vote on it at the end of the season.
See which one's the best.
See who they liked better.
We could just ask our parents.
Like I said, have our listeners.
All right, I'll let you get started now.
Okay, time to get into the movie, but I like the banter back and forth. It's already going well. This is another where the movie opens with credits. You have John Candy and family driving down a country road, and they're all singing along to Yakety Yak on the radio.
Good song.
Great song. One of my favorites when I was a kid. But we established the family pretty much right off the bat. They're a close, happy, your typical 1980s family. You got the husband and the wife. You have the older brother, who's an Anthony Michael Hall type, and you have the younger brother, who's an Eddie Munster type.
That's fantastic. That is a great way to describe them. Although I thought the older kid looked familiar, and I looked him up, and I have no idea who it is.
No, he's an Anthony Michael Hall type, except younger.
Yeah,
Because Anthony Michael Hall was pretty old in the late 80s, I believe. Because the height of his career, I think, was in the early 80s, 82, 84 with The Breakfast Club. That's when he was really at the height of his popularity, I believe. I could be wrong. It was a low-budget movie. Maybe they just couldn't get him because he was already popular. Yeah, we run through the opening credits, and it's them singing. You get the little kid doing a saxophone solo, which more movies need a saxophone solo. Air saxophone. It's brilliant.
yeah. It reminded me of the saxophone solo from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
And John Candy might have drawn influence from that. Like, that little kid did a saxophone, or I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was actually 1987.
I don't know which was first, but they're both John Hughes movies with John Candy.
Right. If you happen to know which one is first, feel free to write us on Twitter at WatchItBroPod or email us at watchitbropodcast@gmail.com. I haven't plugged one of those in yet, but I'm going to have fun with that.
We're getting those where to contact us in early. Also, spoiler warning.
Yes, if you haven't seen the movie, we are going to be talking about the movie, so you're going to learn things about the movie that you might not know. So, yeah, they arrive to their destination, and we immediately kick off with a beautiful sight gag of John Candy parking in between four trees, and it has a bird's eye view, and all four doors simultaneously hit a tree, and he's like, "Oh, trees in the parking lot. Better be careful." That lovable John Candy laugh that I so poorly just imitated. And then it actually switches over to a fancy car driving down the same road that we saw John Candy's family in the beginning, only briefly, and then it's back to John Candy's family in the lodge. They pass a shotgun lamp, and then they
Yes.
reach. They're trying to get service, and they see a horn on the wall, and it suggests that you should blow into it for prompt service, which John Candy does, and they are met with a tug with porcupine quills in its face. So shortly after that, the owners of the wonderful establishment come through, and the old man Wally says, "Oh, don't mind Wormer. She just hates people.
She loves porcupines but hates people.
Also, she's in heat." And then he looks at the older son and says, "Too bad you're not a dog." So whatever that means, I guess use your imagination for that. And then it cuts back to the fancy car driving down the country road again. Only briefly. It does this two or three times, I think. And
Mhm.
then we're back to John Candy and his family, and they're driving with Wally sitting on the hood of the car as they're driving up to the cabin. And then they pull up to the cabin. Wally jumps off the hood, and they're talking about how they've upgraded it. They put a whole $300 into it, and that it just became available today. There was a fishing group that was there, and they caught their limit and took off basically. John Candy mentions, oh, what a great deal. Where else can you get something like this? There's no downside. And Wally says, well, you might get the trots from the well water. And John Candy, what did he say?
Yeah, no one quite heard it.
And then we go back to the fancy car, and it gets to the destination, pulls up, parks. You see Roman 1 on there, and who exits the vehicle but none other than the great Dan Aykroyd. It cuts back to Chet is John Candy's name, and his wife is Connie.
Yes?
We should add that in before we write the names of the characters that they play as well.
Well, I do that on all mine.
Oh, I don't.
Connie.
Connie. Okay, I was right. Perfect.
Even if I write the name down wrong, I write it. Poor Ned. Nestor.
Judge Malloy in My Cousin Vinny that you were calling Mallory.
Judge Mallory.
I'll cut all this out, but I'm having fun. I might leave it in. Who knows? I find that the more I leave in, the more fun we all have.
Yes.
I'll use my better judgment for it. Anyway, so it cuts back to Chet and Connie, and they are cleaning up the cabin because apparently the folks who own the place don't actually do that for you.
At least not well.
They said toilet seat was found on the sun deck, and they were cleaning fish out of everywhere, and there was plenty of bottles of booze all around. So they're cleaning up, and Chet decides that he's going to try to have some hanky panky with the missus. And the missus isn't really having it at first, but the charmer that Chet is, she starts coming around to the idea, and it looks like things are going to go Chet's way when Roman comes in, family in tow, and video camera on and rolling.
Yeah. In Romans giving Chet a good ribbing about the everything going on,
And they are both very surprised to see Roman.
as if they didn't expect him to be there.
And I believe Roman mentions that earlier, like, Chet's gonna flip when he sees us. And
Yeah.
as they're getting out of the car, I believe they mention that they weren't invited, which may or may not come back around. it cuts from there to Chet and Roman having a cigar and a drink out on the porch, catching up. And this is where we start to learn the kind of the dynamic between the two of them. We find out it's his Chet's his brother-in-law.
Yeah, so what do we say? Connie?
Yeah.
Connie and Kate is Roman's wife. They're sisters,
Oh, is that the connection?
and Chet and Roman are brother-in-laws.
Okay. So that makes sense that they're okay. So I was like, how exactly are they tied? Because I don't think they explain it in the movie.
No, they mentioned that he's his brother-in-law a little bit, which would mean that either Kate is Chet's sister or Connie's sister, but it's Connie's sister.
Okay, I was also thinking that Roman might be Connie's brother.
Yeah, that's a possibility too. But I think it's the ladies that are sisters.
Yeah, that makes the most sense with the way the movie plays out.
But as far as Roman goes, I would dare say that his mother or grandmother or something is a Zelensky.
Tommy Boy Zelensky?
Time to connect everything because everybody connects everything. But no, it feels like a similar character
Okay.
where he took inspiration from this character for Zelensky as a part in Farley's movie, basically.
A crooked businessman,
Yeah, yeah,
basically,
but
kind of a shyster.
yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely. But you had more for this part, or the
no,
dynamic?
that was it.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's things I didn't think of about like I thought a little bit about how they were related, but didn't really come to with anything I felt definitive. And
Yeah,
when you're like, oh, the wives are sisters, and I was like, oh, yes, that makes the most sense. They're on the deck having a smoke and a drink and having a chat, and Roman's basically asking him. He's already very full of himself. We get that right away, and he's very materialistic. Are the two main things that Roman is, and so he's immediately giving Chet a hard time about wanting to come up to the mountains and play homeless for a week.
yeah,
Chet's like, I have to come up here with my dad. That's why I like it. I like looking out into nature and just seeing the stillness and the calm of the wilderness and building the memories and stepping away from life and having everything be slower. Like the things that people who enjoy the wilderness love about the wilderness. You either like it or you don't. And most people who like it for, I believe, the same reasons. At least that's my understanding with everyone I've talked to who likes to go in the wilderness.
that's why I like going out.
Yeah. And then, Chet retorts, or not Chet, Roman retorts with, like, well, you know what I see out here? I see a lake with radioactive waste that's dumped in there and land to build and profits. And, he's coming at it from a perspective of money and gains and opportunity.
Right, we can put a mill over there. We could put a refinery there, and just business can
Business,
happen.
business. Yeah. Always on the clock, it seems. You get some of my favorite lines from John Candy. Roman says, yeah, but we'll probably all drop dead of a heart attack or a stroke long before you do. They both kind of chuckle, and John Candy's like, God, I hope so. Wouldn't it be great to see everyone you just can't stand just die? And he's clearly taking shots at Roman, and Roman's just not getting it at all,
Yeah,
which is great. Then it cuts to Anthony Michael Hall, and
that's not who it is.
it cuts to Chet's kids,
Buck and Ben.
Buck and Ben, yes, Chet's kids, and they're kind of talking about this weird feeling they're getting, and they're like, you feel like aliens or something? And they're like, yeah, I don't know, something weird. And then they look over, and it's Roman's twin girls standing on the beach, staring, kind of the Shining
Yeah,
type type reference there, and then it plays the Twilight Zone theme. So it sets up Roman's girls as being.
creepy and unsettling. It also doesn't. It adds to the factor that they don't talk, and they don't for most of the movie.
And so they're getting ready to eat, and Chet's talking about wanting, he's going to fire up the grill and he's going to throw on some hot dogs. And Roman's like, what? No family member of mine is going to be eating hot dogs while they're staying at my cabin. So he very much tries to take over things and has to be in control. And he's, no, not hot dogs. You were going to fry up some lobster tails. You know what hot dogs are made out of? They're made out of lips and hindquarters. And, John Candy's, oh, ha, 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 I'm old fashioned. I like hindquarters. Ha, ha, ha. Giving a little bit of the Uncle Buck laugh. So yeah, it cuts to the Roman cooking some big lobster tails on the grill, and then once again taking jabs at Chet for wanting to eat hot dogs.
Now, where would they get lobster tail?
I don't know. And would you trust a lobster tail cooked on a grill?
Yes.
Would you?
Yeah. Yeah, people grill lobster tail all the time.
I'm not sure I would trust it.
But this is a small town in a camping community up in Canada, I think?
They are in Canada, yes.
They are in Canada, just north of not just north of, but probably north-ish of Chicago, because that's where they're from, as where most characters are in John Hughes movies. So, where are they getting lobster tail from?
Did Roman bring it with him
He must have brought the lobster tails with him.
in a cooler?
He probably had them in a cooler. He didn't go out and get them. He brought them in a cooler as a way to show up the first night. You know what? That had to have been it.
There's no other explanation.
Right, because their little general store is not gonna have lobster tail.
No, it's about him showing up and coming out the gate like, look how fancy and whatever I am. He's got to be top dog, alpha.
See how important I am.
Yeah, because he mentions at $28 a pound too, so he has to throw in how much it set him back,
Right.
just to kind of add insult to injury. Oh, this guy, Mr. Gourmet over here, he wanted hot dogs. Meanwhile, I brought lobster tails at $28 a pop, or what, and so they're heading in the house with the lobster, and Chet rightfully picks up a tool to threaten to bash him over the head with. And I gotta say, I'm not sure I blame him on that one. I think it's kind of like I might be at that point my own self. And it didn't take long.
Fun fact, Roman, the character was written for Chevy Chase.
Was it?
Yeah,
I could see that.
but he had other obligations, so the next on the list was Bill Murray, but he was doing a hiatus from acting at the moment, so he passed on it, and it went to and John Candy suggested, Dan Aykroyd because they're friends. They're like, "What about my buddy?" And they said, "Yeah, sure, come on in. I think it worked great."
Yeah, and it's I gotta say it is kind of weird seeing John Candy not in that role.
Oh, as more of the straight man?
So yes, and seeing him not be the obnoxious, inconsiderate one.
Yeah,
Because I mean, in Uncle Buck, he's kind of that over the top character who's the bad luck, the man child, so to speak.
yeah,
Planes, trains, and automobiles. Del Griffith is extremely inconsiderate
yeah,
and kind of the played for laughs a lot. And a lot of John Candy's roles, it's maybe in more in John Candy roles that I've seen him in have been him being in that role. So for me, it was kind of weird to see him as the responsible father and family man
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm used to seeing him as more of the bachelor loner kind of guy.
Yeah. Also, John Candy showed up to set with a full beard because he thought it'd be fun for the character. He's an outdoorsy guy. He likes going outside, and the studio's like, "No, no, you look too different. We don't want people to be deterred by how you look now. Shave it."
That might have been fun to see him in a big full beard. But in what movie does John Candy really have a beard in?
No, he's always clean shaven. You get that John. He looks like John Candy, and that I mean, studios like, you're John Candy. You're in the movie. Shave it.
Yeah,
We don't need you looking different to deter people.
right. I think he had a mustache in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He had that little mustache.
The wispy little thing that barely looked like one.
Yeah, that little line across his upper lip.
Yeah.
And then in Wagons East, he had a beard. I think. I actually never saw Wagons East.
Dragons East.
Yeah, that was John Candy's last
Wasn't
movie.
that Chris Farley?
No, that was Almost Heroes.
Okay, very, very similar.
Let's see, a Western and colonial United States. Yeah, I can see the similarities there.
I mean, Wagons East was a Western comedy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So they're at the table eating dinner, eating those lobster tails. And Roman chimes in about, oh, let's get some speedboats for the lake tomorrow. And Chet is, no, that's okay. We have plans. We're going to get a pontoon boat and we're going to, cruise the lake in style and comfort and bring the barbecue out and make a day of it. And Roman immediately asks the kids what they want to do, to which Eddie Munster says, sorry, Dad. And Chet's like, yeah, that's okay. Me and Buck will go. And Buck also says, sorry, Dad. And Chet, still trying to save face and be patient and understanding to his kids, says, "Hey, you want a speedboat? Fine, we'll do a speedboat. We'll have it your way." So from there, it goes to they're all sitting around the coffee table playing Monopoly, and Chet gets the brilliant idea that he's going to dim the lights and tell a story.
Yay, I like story.
I like stories too. I don't think as a kid I would have liked this story, but I have in my notes that the way John Candy in character tells this story is absolutely brilliant. This by itself as a monologue, it's a fantastic story.
I think so. I think so too. About halfway through, I found myself realizing that I was just listening to him tell the story. I'm like, he had me captivated with it.
Yeah, same with me. It was like I'm sitting there watching the movie and watching him tell the story as if I'm one of the kids sitting on the couch.
Yeah, I had stopped fidgeting. I'm just sitting there watching the TV and listening to the story. Like, wait a minute, what? Why? And it's like I know the story too. I've seen the movie. I mean, ages ago, but I have seen the movie.
It's just a credit to John Candy's charisma and acting ability. What acting was back in the day, and what it kind of ceases to be now. But we won't get into comparing and contrasting the great actors to today's actors.
Hey, there's some great actors today. Bryan Cranston.
Oh, there absolutely are.
The business and industry is so much bigger now. The amount of movies that are getting released now, or at least the last few years, where you get 200 to 400 movies a year, versus in the '80s there would be like 90 movies released a year. I don't know if my numbers are right. I just know there's a lot more movies being released than there used to be.
Anyway, so he's telling this story, and he's got everybody just hooked. And not only is it captivating and drawing your attention, but he's throwing in, little jump scares here and there to really just kind of to make it the best campfire scary story he can. And so he, wraps up the story, and he throws his drink into the fire, and it causes it to explode out, and you see like a huge flame come out, and that scares everybody, and now everybody's mad
The the fire that comes out of the chimney.
at him. Horribly irresponsible to create a flame that big.
Yes, yes, but it was huge.
And so that makes everyone angry, and everyone decides that after that fantastic tale, it is bedtime. And Chet, goes to sees how much he scared his younger son, and so he's going to Benny's room, and he's talking to him and telling him, "Hey, it's meant to be fun, scary. It's a fun, scary story. My dad told me, his dad probably told him, and now I'm telling you, and I'm sure one day you'll tell your kids." He just kind of setting the tone that it's not something that he needs to be worried about. It's a fun camping. It's a scary story. You tell scary stories when you're camping, and it's something that he was told, and he's passing it along as a way to bond.
Right.
It shows Roman kind of eavesdropping at the door, almost like he's taking notes, and so that's it. To me, that sets up that Roman doesn't really spend a lot of time with his kids and doesn't really know how to talk to them or communicate with them or relate to them. He's maybe he jabs at Chet because he's jealous of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that.
And then behind closed doors, like quite literally, he's taking notes of his fathering. And so once he thinks he has a handle on how to comfort the children, he tries his hand at comforting his own children. And he comes in with this long, pedantic smattering of huge words. I feel I should lend some credibility, some insight to the credibility of the tale that Chet just told us for our entertainment. And then so he tries to relate the same way that Chet did about, a story my father told me. But he picks a story that his uncle told him. And instead of just leaving it at that, he decides that he needs to tell the girls the gist of the story of the military. What are they? They're basically soldiers who are injected with some kind of experimental drug to make them into super soldiers, and they keep them in a box at an insane asylum, and then they break out of the metal boxes and slaughter a family in the woods. A story that is far more terrifying than the bear.
Yeah. Describe your fear to your children, and
And then he's like, "All right, no more thinking about bears." And I'm going, "They're not thinking about bears anymore, I promise." They are thinking about one thing and one thing only.
escape military cannibals.
That's right, they were also cannibals.
Yep.
And then he leaves.
Yeah.
So he makes it worse. And then we cut to the raccoons getting into the garbage and having their own dialogue because
Yes.
apparently raccoons talk to each other.
Of
And
course they do.
they're
They
getting into
got
the trash. Of course they do. They're what?
they have hands.
Is that all it takes to communicate? So I think we use the raccoons as an act break almost.
Yeah, I think so. They talk to each other about the garbage and the trash and
The raw
new
hot
people.
dogs. Oh, they're from Chicago. They got raw hot dogs. And then they also make the lips and hindquarters joke. Classic, I guess. And then we go to the next morning and it shows everybody waking up in the morning except the twin girls who didn't actually sleep
Yeah.
because they're still laying there with the same look on their face that they had the night before. And Chet is already up and he's cleaning up the trash that the raccoons got into.
Yes. Being responsible.
And then it goes to Roman getting ready for the day. He's in the bathroom, he's on a cell phone, and he's talking to what we learn is the pastor of a church, and he's trying to solicit $25,000 from him for an investment deal. His wife's in the shower and he's talking to her about how come his kids don't look at him the same way that Chet's kids look at Chet.
Yeah.
And she tells him, maybe it's because you're gone so much. Maybe if you'd spend less time at work. And he cuts her off and says, "Not now, honey. I'm on the phone," which implies that yeah, his priority very much is work over family. And so we go to picking up the speedboat.
Which that boat is not what I had in mind when I thought of a speedboat. That looks like a drag race boat.
I thought the same thing.
It is tiny. It it's got a massive engine that looks like it came out of a car from Tool Time.
Yeah, that's definitely something Tim Allen would have souped up and
Yeah.
grunted at for a while.
It's this massive engine on this little boat that's painted with, red and orange flames.
Because it's got fire on it, it's got to be fast, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
saw that boat and, like, that is that you're going for speed with that one.
Yeah, well, they said it didn't. They said a speedboat, so
You know, it is a speedboat, but that when I heard speedboat, that is not what I thought. When I saw that, I'm like, "Oh."
that was exactly what I thought as well. We are we are trying to break the sound barrier with that,
Yes.
and Chet is clearly upset because he was still hoping against hope that maybe the kids would want the pontoon boat, and it didn't happen. So he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go get hot dogs for everybody," and so he orders 4 chili dogs and 2 regulars. And he's Buck goes with him, and he's like, that's 6 hot dogs, and he's like, yeah, it's for everybody, and I'm hungry, so maybe a little bit of stress eating there.
Yeah.
I like that they don't really touch on his weight.
No, that is not a, joke point. I don't think they make a joke about it at all in the movie.
No, there's like 2 or 3 parts where they make a subtle maybe reference to it.
Like, "Hey, big guy."
No, but like, Dad, that's 6 hot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little bit concerned, and then I think the 96er is kind of implied that he can do it because of his size,
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
but it's never really played for laughs,
Yeah.
which I appreciate. That it's not that kind of movie. Like Tommy Boy was heavily into that. Buck reasons with his dad and is like, I'm a teenager. I kind of want some time to myself to just kind of walk around and check things out. And just, I get it. We're here for us too. You can go do your thing for a bit, but like, don't forget that we're here as a family and to have family time. Now, give me a hug. And this part, I didn't really get. I mean, I guess I do. I just didn't really relate to it because, like, I don't remember a time in my life where I didn't hug dad.
Yeah, I know people that were more like that, like, but, yeah, I it's not something I related to, like, "No, I'm not I'm too old to be hugged," like, "Come here."
And even when I was going through my stuff in my teen years, I don't recall not giving dad a hug.
Yeah,
I don't recall any time in my life where I feel like I would be embarrassed to give my dad a hug.
yeah. But we're a hugging family, so
We're a hugging family. Like I'm 37 years old and I will give my dad a hug every time I see him for the rest of my life. Same with mom. Like don't feel left out, mom. Same goes for you, mom. It's just
yes,
in the movie, it's specifically geared towards his dad. So I am relating to the movie. But yes,
right, and that is a theme too that's been brought up in other movies or TV shows, like, "Dad, don't hug me."
right. Like it's more acceptable to hug your mom.
Yeah.
But that's not a thing with me. I hug my dad. Happily, proudly hug my dad. And I think we spent a lot of time on hugging dad. So we're gonna move on right now.
Hug mom too.
And Aunt Lisa.
Again, hugging family.
Everybody in our family that is listening, we will hug you.
You can cut that down a little bit.
I might just leave it. This might be just a long episode because it's so much fun.
Yeah,
We're having so much fun. We're getting better and it's flowing really well and it's sidetracked, but it's all related to it. And it's just fun. So if it's fun, I'm gonna keep it.
sounds good.
And I'm editing, so you don't really get a say.
That's fair.
Uh, so we're on the boat, and Chet's trying to figure out how to work the thing, and he's Roman's yelling at him from the shore. He's pretending like he understands and just kind of shooing him away. And then he finally figures out that he has it in neutral, so he pops it into gear, slams on the gas, and flies the thing out of the water and right up the cement. Everybody sees and everybody laughs at him, which to me, kind of a pointless scene.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pointless scene too. It's there to take the steam out of Chet a little bit, but he doesn't even end up driving the boat. It's Roman. They could have just gone straight into that.
Yeah. And it's like, why did you need to take the steam out of Chet? He's not a character that you need to take down a peg. So you could have completely done without the insult to him and the embarrassment to him. And it's not like it's Roman's fault either. So you're not doing that to build conflict between the two of them because Roman didn't do anything. Yeah, like you said, it cuts to the next scene and it's Chet with Benny on the dock trying to teach him how to ski and what to do if he's in trouble. Let go of the rope, and everyone in the boat's getting impatient. And so they're yelling back at Chet, like, hey, come on, hurry up, waving. And Chet waves back to him, and they're like, oh, Chet's going because he's conveniently on the skis holding the rope.
Right. He's showing Ben how to do it.
And so he waves, and they're like, oh, he's waving. Oh, he's going. Okay. And Roman just hits it. And so they go and they pull him off and start dragging him across the lake. They do a good job cutting back and forth.
Yes, they do a good job of cutting back and forth.
And I don't know exactly how, because they didn't do like a lot of movies in the 80s. They would have done the cheesy like, here's the screen behind you, and it's very obvious that he's not really doing it.
They probably had the platform on the back of a boat and just had him stand on that where he would be skiing, but the platform's built out, so he's not actually on the water. It's just the boat's going, and they're filming him on like a 2 foot line, but he's not actually in the water.
Yeah, that's what I thought was he was on the back of a boat, somewhere really like sturdy and stable, and because I mean, you could see him like behind him. He's on a lake.
Yeah,
He's on a boat, and there's water coming up around him. So it's clearly being shot, and they probably they probably filmed it all, and then they recorded the audio separately.
could be. I mean, they do a lot of ADR afterwards, so
Yeah, it's probably a lot of ADR because you wouldn't be able to hear if it was a live recording of it. But I think they did a good job with it, and they made the right choice doing it that way.
yeah, it looked good. There were shots where like, yeah, actually on the water, but it's
Yeah, I mean it wasn't obvious what they did.
yeah. It
I
helped that he
mean,
was wearing a hat too, so whoever the stunt double was, the hat's over his face, and
yeah, and so it made it really easy to suspend disbelief on that and just to play along. Really, I really appreciated the way they did that and how they did like all of his lines were done when they were showing the stunt double, so they didn't have to match flaps with ADR2, which I think made it a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
definitely.
speaking of his longer lines, as he's getting dragged around the lake, he is yelling and screaming, and he is calling Roman a word that rhymes with faster.
A word that might start with a B, right?
It might start with that letter. Who's to say? All I know is it sounds like faster when you're flying across a lake, and so they think he wants to go fast. It just gets worse for him. He gets thrown through the. He's getting close to shore. He's weaving in and out of people. He's going through the brushes and loses his
Ski.
ski at one point,
Yep.
which is quite impressive water skiing for whoever that stunt double was to be able to ski so well while looking like you're in trouble the whole time. That can't be easy to do.
It's the power of Goofy.
Power of Goofy.
Yes, that's what I'm calling it. Where like Goofy gets pulled into something, he's doing something, but he looks it pulls off the right way.
Okay?
So I mean, he's struggling out there, but everybody watching him like, hey, look at this guy's going. He's on one ski, he's rolling on the water and getting back up,
It's a classic comedy trope for sure.
and it just felt like something that you'd see from Goofy.
I accept this. I like it.
Also, touch on something when he gets taken off the dock the first go around after he's talking to his son about how to ski. His son's yelling at him, "Just let go of the rope."
Yeah,
'Cause
I meant to touch on that. It's in my notes. He's flying up and he's like, "Oh my god!" And the son's like, "Let go of the rope, Dad."
That's what you're telling me to do. Let go of the rope.
We just covered this. What are you doing? And then he eventually lets go of the rope, sinks into the water, and is done with his heckish trip across the lake.
Yes.
And we cut to him back at the cabin. He's opening his drawer, packing, and he is out of there. He's sick of Roman. He's sick of his. He's what his kids are creepy. He's tired of it all. He's taking shots at the kids now because he's so mad. And his wife knows him as well as she does and is able to very quickly start a tickle fight and get him out of his bad mood. And it's very clear that they know each other very well. They have a lot of patience for each other, and they have the communication to where they can tell the other when they're being ridiculous and
Yeah.
have it not escalate the situation and have it actually be productive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good acting moment. It's good chemistry between the two of them. That you see these insights, like they're believable as a couple. He has this whole fake thing where he's pretending to choke her. It's like, I was about to leave. I was gonna be happy. Why did you convince me to stay? And she's just giggling and laughing, and it's fun.
Like you said, they're definitely believable as a couple, because a lot of couples, when you're together for a while, you develop those fun little things that you do.
Right.
And so for them to be an on-screen couple that hasn't been together long enough to have a teenage son,
Right. But to have that believability, chemistry, and history there.
yeah, it definitely says a lot about both of their acting abilities. And then it comes to Dan Aykroyd and Wally meeting him outside, bringing back his two kids. He tells Roman that his kids were down at the mine because they like to yell into it to hear their voice echo back, and he's not even going to tell them what the teenagers do down there. Which there's a lot more adult jokes in this than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
I saw it came up and it was like, oh, PG. And I'm like, great, fun family film. And then I'm like, when did PG-13 become a thing? Because this might be. PG-13 was a thing in like 1985.
Yeah. When Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't think they'd really established what constituted PG-13 because I think it would be a PG-13 now.
Yeah, well, I mean, before that, I mean, it wasn't a rating. Jaws is rated PG, Beetlejuice is rated PG, and there's an F bomb in that.
Yeah. So I think they didn't really, they came up with PG-13 in like 85 for a reason.
Yeah, for Temple of Doom,
Right.
they're like this isn't R, but this can't be PG, and it's not there enough to be R, so we'll create a new one, a PG-13.
And so I think going forward, like if they had a better establishment on what like by today's standards of PG-13,
Yeah,
I think that's what it would be. This movie,
probably.
just because of the language and the innuendos, and so they basically and that whole scene with the mine is just to establish that there is a mine nearby.
Yeah, possibly foreshadowing.
It's pretty heavy-handed that they're going to need it later.
Yes, definitely foreshadowing.
And then we cut to them heading to a birthday party for the oldest man in Canada who is turning 109 years old. And they're all walking up, and Benny is dressed exactly like Judd Nelson in the Breakfast Club.
That's awesome.
It's uncanny. He's got like the same flannel under his jean jacket.
That's awesome.
It's,
It's a good nod.
I don't know if it's a nod or not. The only thing he's missing is like the gloves.
The fingerless gloves.
Yeah. We're like, oh, that's a little too much. But I mean, yeah, it's funny. Looks straight out of the Breakfast Club. And so they go inside. Wally's there tending bar.
Good old
And
Wally.
good old Wally. He's full of good little one-liners. And Chet wants to get a picture with all the kids with Mr. Tompkins, 109 years old. It's quite a feat. Goes to the kids, wishing him a happy birthday, but he's 109 years old. He can't hear anything. And so Chet's getting the kids all around him, get a picture. Tells the girls, why don't you climb up on his lap? Give him a kiss on the cheek. And Wally comes over and he's like, hi, I don't like those kids climbing all over Mr. Tompkins like that. Suggesting they get down and they don't take a picture and they kind of give him the space. And Chet's kind of fighting back because he wants the picture. And he's like, what old man wouldn't like a couple of girls kissing him on the cheek? It's cute.
Yeah.
And Wally responds with, well, a dead one. And Chet's like, what? He's like, Bill died in the car on the way over here. And, Chet, how could you do that? And Wally's like, I didn't do that. He did it.
That's sick, Wally. Why would you do that?
Yeah, but it's like, call somebody.
Yeah.
Don't throw the birthday party. The guy died. You have a situation to handle.
Yeah, they've got an event they got to keep going on with. You just wheel them out there and continue your event.
He's still going to be dead in an hour, I guess. It got dark.
There's a chance he called someone. They're on their way.
That's going to be a great thing to happen at the party. You would find it the coroner? Well, funny story. That guy you've been shaking hands with and taking pictures with, he died about 2 hours ago. And then for some reason, the kids are at a pool hall shooting pool. Literally the next scene, it just goes right into that. Buck is shooting pool. So is a local girl. And they just happen to line up perfectly. And he smacks her with the pool cue.
Yes.
Kind of. And it upsets her. And she leaves. And he says, she's cute. And Benny says, violent, but cute. And then it goes to, I think I forgot to mention this, but while they're at Mr. Tompkins' birthday party, Chet asks Wally if there's a good bear dump around.
Yes.
Which is
Yes,
basically a place where people go to observe bears in their unnatural habitat. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a specific dump where food is put so bears can come out and people can watch them.
Okay, yeah. So he catches wind of that. So yeah, after the pool hall, we go to the bear dump, and there's a sign that says "Do not feed the bears," which is exactly what Chet does. He gets out with some candy bars, chucks one at the bear, sets the other two on the hood of his car to draw the bears even closer because apparently 20 feet was not close enough for him.
And then he gets upset when the bear starts going to the car.
I think it was when the bear starts climbing on the cars when he gets upset.
Yes, but he left the candy on the car, so.
I think he was expecting it to take the candy off the car, not climb onto the car and start scratching at the windshield. Meanwhile, it's full, so everybody is watching this bear climb on the hood of his car and then curl up and lay down. And then another bear comes from the back, curls up on the roof, and lays down. And meanwhile, I don't know if you noticed, the two girls are asleep in the back.
Yes, they're asleep in the back.
Chet and Benny are up front, and they're just kind of like, yeah, that big bear, yeah. I told you I loved you, right, son? Oh, yeah, Dad, yeah, we're good there. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm just going to go now.
Yeah, getting kind of tired. Let's call it a night.
So he starts with the car, and he starts driving away. Meanwhile, everybody's still watching him. This guy's got two bears on his car, and he's just like, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to take my bears and leave.
Yes, and the bears are still on the car as he drives away.
Then I have here, I wonder what the laws are of driving with a bear on your roof, because Benny mentions that Says, Dad, isn't it illegal to drive with bears on the roof? So, I don't know what the laws are out here.
It's Canada. It's probably fine.
Probably happens more than you think, too. And then we go to a gazebo where the local girl is smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, back when teenagers could smoke in movies.
Yeah. Oh, or back when it was normal to see a 17-year-old girl smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like, it's so casually in the movie. And that's the only time you see her smoke in the whole movie?
Is it?
Yeah, I think. I don't recall seeing it again.
Oh, I don't either.
But she's there, and he comes up to apologize to her for interrupting her game of pool.
Yes.
And she is not very nice. And he seems to like that.
Yeah, she basically tells him to crawl up his own.
Backside.
Yeah, yeah.
And then die up there. And he's like, this girl's into me. And so he's like, oh, you're a local. And she's like, you don't know how local I am. And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? You don't know how local I am?
I mean, she lives there, she's worked there, she's stuck there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all knew how local she was.
Yeah.
And then we're done with that scene. We're back at the cabin, and it's Buck and Chet. They're on the dock,
Yep.
and Chet's like, "Hey, son, let's go for a spin in the rowboat. I'll even let you row." So they go out into the lake, and they're having the father son heart to heart that you got to have in the movie, and sentimental moment, passing the torch, whatnot. And Buck, the genius that this kid is, comes in with, "Oh, this is like a family tradition."
Yeah. What's nice about this movie is the kids aren't against Chet in this movie. It's not the family against him. It's not like the dad forcing the trip on the family. It's a family trip that everybody's happy to be out there. It's no one's. I mean, except Roman's like, this place is kind of stupid, but we're making the best of it.
Right. No, the pretty much the entire conflict in the movie up to this point is man versus situation or man versus circumstance.
Yeah, or man versus Roman.
But not even.
No, no. I mean, it's more of Roman just digging at him,
Right, but
and
like every
and
single trouble that Chet runs into is completely circumstance.
yeah,
And then we go to the raccoons in the trash again.
yes.
They notice that they've put cinder blocks on top of the trash cans, and the raccoons cleverly say, "That doesn't work. We're just going to knock them over."
And the raccoons proceed to crawl up on the trash cans and knock him over.
We go to a drive-in, and Buck is kind of creepily while watching the drive-in, and we see her name's Cammy. We find out here in a minute, but we see her waiting on cars, and he walks up and doesn't pretend he's in a car, but like he just kind of walks up and presses the button for service,
Yeah.
and just is immediately a jerk to her.
Yeah, he's trying to be flirty jerk.
It doesn't work because she's like, "Where am I supposed to put the tray?" And he's like, "Well, the way you talked to me last night, I bet you could find 100 places." And it's just like, you sounded way too mad about it.
Yeah, but she's giggled.
She giggled. She got the joke. I guess it was funny to her. I think he played it too serious, but hey, what do I know? I didn't write the
Yeah,
movie.
I think he was smiling when he said it too. I felt he was more trying to be. Eh.
He was okay. He was trying to be flirty. Got it. It worked, I guess, because they start talking and do a little flirting back and forth, and he's like, "Can I see you again?" And she's like, "Yeah, if you can find me."
That flirtiness there, the snarky flirty. Yeah, you can see me if you find me again.
Sure, but he's already found her twice.
True.
He's got a good track record of finding her. And do you really want to encourage that kind of behavior?
She does.
Apparently, she really likes being pursued.
Come find me.
Yeah, basically. And then we go to, yeah, the cuts in this movie are, you kind of just, it's all over the place. Because now we go to the Ripleys are go karting. They're just randomly go kart on a go kart track.
Yeah, there's a little arcade area too.
Yeah, and Roman's golfing. And do you know if Dan Aykroyd golfs in real life?
Possibly.
Because
I know he makes vodka.
that's a lot different than golf.
Yes, I know it's a lot different in golf. I was just throwing out a fact that I knew about Dan Aykroyd. I don't know if he golfs, but I know he makes vodka. Well, I'm sure he doesn't make it, but he has a company that does it. Crystal Skull Vodka.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
The point I'm getting at is his swing does not look like the swing of a man who plays golf on the regular,
Oh, then probably not.
because it is bad. If you're listening to this, Dan Aykroyd, I apologize. Please feel free to let me know if you golf or not. That's watchitbropodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter @watchitbropod. Why
Oh.
not? Random plug in the middle of the podcast. And then they have to have they set it up a mile away of the golf ball's going to hit somebody in the go-kart track. And it does.
Somebody. It's gonna hit somebody in this movie. Who might it hit? The punching bag of the movie? Chet? Or Chet's kid? No, it's Chet.
Could you imagine if it hit one of the kids, though?
That would have been out of left field and hysterical.
Especially if it was like Eddie Munster.
Well, the older kid's off being flirty.
No, he's there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's there. Could have hit him. The little kid's the funniest, though. It's also the meanest, which is why it's the funniest.
It's the I mean it's gotta be it's gotta be Chet. He's the punching bag of the movie.
Yeah.
The guy you root for, you're like, oh, I got hit in the face. It's still funny, but
It's expected. And then they're riding horses up a trail. Chet and his horse, speaking of punching bags of the movie, once again, Chet is having a miserable time of it.
This could be another weight joke.
But it's not played that way. It's just, there's nothing to imply that it's a weight joke. It's just, he's got a horse that doesn't like him. There's no mention of it whatsoever.
Yeah, you're right. It's just a stubborn horse.
Just a stubborn horse. Stubborn horses are pretty common. And they've been jokes in a lot of movies and shows. So I'm gonna go with not a weight joke, just a stubborn horse. And then he gets off the horse. And then he threatens to beat the horse. First he's playing nice, like, hey, we'll just walk, it's cool, like
You're walking, I'm walking, we'll do this.
trying to reason with it. Horse ain't having it, so he's like, all right, I'm gonna break this branch off the tree and I'm gonna make a switch. And the horse runs off. Yeah, so then it cuts to everybody at the end of the trail. They've put their horses back. Roman is bragging again, because that's pretty much all Roman does the whole movie is brag about different things.
Yeah.
And give Chet a hard time. So he's bragging about himself because Chet's not there, and then Chet shows up and he gives Chet a hard time.
And he says, what'd you do, eat the horse? Because the horse isn't there. There's your slight weight joke.
There it is. And it was well timed and well played. And it was funny because the horse was very unlikable.
The horse was gone.
Yeah, it ran off and no one dealt with it. He let that horse run off into the woods.
Yeah, he didn't care.
We're going to assume that it went back to where it belonged, where it came from.
Horses are smart. It probably got back where it was.
Yeah, probably. But Chet is done. He's no more family fun day. He's going back to the cabin and he's taking a nap because it is hot. He had to walk the whole trail by himself. He didn't even come up through the trail. He climbed up through the woods, found his way lost in the woods. He's going home and he's going to take a nap. And then we go to I guess it's a carnival that they have in town, fair.
Yeah.
And that's Buck. Buck is there. And he runs into Cammy. He finds her.
Yes.
And I want to know.
Doesn't she find him, tap him on the shoulder when he's not looking?
Possibly. They find each other.
Yes, I think that, yeah, because he's looking around. He kind of turns around. She's behind him and taps him, which means she wanted to be found.
They find each other. And then being as I was only 2 years old in 1988, I would like to know if that was actually the style of wearing a baseball hat, because she is wearing it on top of her giant hair and it's just kind of sitting there
on top of her giant 80s hair poof.
Yes. Do you know what I'm talking about? Are you picturing
Vaguely
what I'm picturing?
Yes, I am picturing it.
Does it bother you as much as it bothered me?
No.
Okay. Then I will just move on from it at this point.
But yes, that might have been a style.
Okay, because I asked Rachel about it. I'm like, it's not a flattering look. If I'm being honest, it's not great. I don't know. It's like the mullet of wearing hats. I guess
The
mullets are
mul
popular again.
the mullet of wearing hats.
But then Rachel mentioned, like, there was times where it was like cool to wear your hat backwards, and then it was up off to the side, and then it was completely flat bill with the sticker still on. Wearing hats go through phases of like how to wear them, and I'm like, I guess that one is not a particularly good one for me. I don't know. It seems
That was offensive baseball hat wearing to you?
I don't know about offensive, but
We're talking about it on a podcast.
okay,
I would call it offensive.
I guess I was mildly offended by it. If you too were mildly offended by her wearing of a hat at the carnival scene, feel free to write us at watchitbropodcast@gmail.com.
At this point, if anybody writes this, I'll be happy.
Pretty much, yeah. Been real quiet. So we're at the lounge now, and Roman and Chet are having a drink. And then a man with an interesting hairstyle comes in and sits down next to them. Roman is schmoozing the bartender, trying to solicit money out of him, and the bartender ain't having it. He's like, the wife deals with all the finances, she handles all the savings, she's the money person, so you need to talk to her. And they're all, having banter, and then the guy walks in with a very interesting white streak down the middle of his hair. I mentioned that because as soon as he walked in, Rachel said, he looks like a skunk. This was the first time she'd seen the movie.
Oh, okay.
So this was the first time we watched it together. I didn't take notes, so we could just watch it in its entirety. And so she's like, "Oh, she looks like a skunk," and I laughed, and she looked at me like I was an idiot. And then Roman says, "So that's a cool hairdo you got there. Is that some kind of like neo skunk thing you got going on?" And then she's like, "Oh, that's why you laughed. It's funny." And
Did she
so
enjoy it?
she did.
Okay.
Yeah, she appreciated it. And the bartender's like, "Oh, have you all met Reg?" And they're like, "No, no, I haven't. How you doing?" And Reg, after quite a bit of stammering and stuttering, basically says, "Well, it's not raining," which is funny. Well, you'll find out why it's funny in just a second. Because Roman says, "Hey, what's up with the neo skunk thing?" And Chet's, of course, like, "Hey, don't. Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta be like that?" And the bartender comes to his defense and says, "Hey, it's like that because Reg has been struck by lightning. How many times is it now, Reg?" And Reg is like, "Oh, six. And Chet and Roman are like, "Wow, 6 times." And then Reg reveals that no, it's just 66 times in the head. They're both just kind of staring at him like, wow. And Chet breaks the awkwardness with, "That's gotta hurt."
Yeah, yeah.
And the bartender explains that there's no one more in tune with the biometric weather than Reg here. If you see Reg running for the hills, you best get home quick. And then we go over to the ladies talk. So we go over to the ladies talking.
I'm biding my time
Biding your time for what?
to jump in.
Okay. And the ladies are talking, and it's kind of awkward. Kate's complaining about how lonely it is being wealthy, and Connie's just kind of being, yeah, oh, is it?
The sister's catching up.
Sisters catching up, but it's clearly they're not bonding. It's really tense. And so Kate, talking about how lonely it is, implies that she may or may not be romantically involved with her washing machine, which kind of breaks the ice. And then the sisters, the tension's gone, and they're actually spending some time and catching up. And then we go back to Buck and Cammy, and now they're on a boat talking.
Yes. Well, they're on a lake.
On they're on a boat on a lake.
Yeah.
They're on
So I
the
said
rowboat.
they're on a lake.
They're talking.
Yeah.
And they're apparently, after 2 days of casually running into each other and whatnot, they are having the define the relationship talk.
Yes. That is important to do with a summer love camping fling.
Yes. And it is important that you both have the relationship talk and then officially refer to each other as boyfriend and girlfriend when you're leaving in 3 days.
Yes.
Because it has to be love, apparently. And that's pretty much all that is it's just really cringy, awkward teen forced romance.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it while we're watching the movie, and at this point it's like, Is is this needed? I know that that it happens, you make friends or you make connections with people when you're away camping with your family at you go camping for a few weeks, you meet the people around you and or you're on vacation and you keep running into the same people. And maybe that's just why it's put in there because gives the kids something a little more to do than just be there while we focus on Chet and Roman. But it's just kind of a side story that could come out of the movie just as easily as be there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very well written or thought out. I think the problem with it is that they try to make it like a serious thing instead of having it just kind of be two teenagers who take a fancy to each other and play kissy face a little bit and spend time together, but don't really put any high hopes or expectations on what they are, and then just kind of like, hey, at the end of the movie, just kind of part ways and have that kind of like, now it's hitting me of like, oh, you're actually leaving,
Yeah,
and have that sentimental scene be at the end
yeah.
instead of like having it in the middle of everything, and try to make it go through the entire stages of the relationship. Like later when they get to where they have a fight, like why did that need to happen? Why did their love story need a conflict?
It's a little bit of an extended version of the, the romance between Francis and the girl at
Oh, Malcolm's Math Carnival.
yeah, Malcolm's Math Carnival. They meet, they go through the whole stages, by the end, they're reminiscing about the relationship they briefly had, like, "See ya."
Right. Literally go through an entire relationship from meet to closure in the couple hours that they're there. But that but that's also played for laughs in Malcolm in the Middle though.
True, true, this is just kind of awkward at times.
Yeah, awkward and not well planned out or thought out. Almost like it was an afterthought in the movie.
It could have been one of those movie notes of just like, "We need a relationship in this," or, "We need a romance." Like, well, it's about 2 adult couples, and like, "No, no, the kid has to have something."
Yeah, we got to get the teens into the movie. That was maybe the way to appeal to the younger crowd. Every teenager likes a love story. Not that love story, but they like a love story.
Right. I mean, when it came out, the movie performed poorly, and it found its footing on video, like a lot of movies have. But
Right. Yeah, it didn't do. I mean, it wasn't a flop.
oh, but it didn't do great.
It doubled its. It was like a 20 million budget, and it did 40 million at the box office. That's double. That's not
Yeah.
bad.
No, no, it's not.
I mean, it wasn't a home run, but it wasn't a loss. So we're back in the cabin, and there's a scream in the night, and Kate and Rowan run out of the room, and she complains or screams that there was a bat in their room, and they see the bat, and it starts flying about the cabin. So they all run outside, and they're debating on who's going to do it. And Roman, of course, volunteers Chet because it's his cabin. He didn't order one with bats. Oh,
Even though he said it was his cabin earlier.
that was his cabin earlier. He's up there uninvited, so I doubt he even ordered a cabin at all. He kind of emasculates Chet into doing it.
Yeah.
And so Chet's like, all right, I'll do it. I was just figuring out how to do it. I do it. I'm going to do it. I can do it. And he walks in there and you hear the bat squeak and you hear it flap. And you see Chet turn around and walk back out. And he goes, oh, bigger than we thought. So at least a 2 pounder with the wings and the teeth. And he does the hand gesture for the teeth. And I do that now to Rachel. I go, the teeth, you gotta, if you haven't seen the movie, watch it just for the hand gesture of teeth and then do it to people. I don't know why. Just,
That's
it's
right.
hysterical.
Keep doing it. They can't see you.
You can.
I can. I've watched you do it like 8 times now.
Part of John Candy's acting that I love so much is his teeth, is his mannerisms. Part of what
Okay.
made John Candy such a great actor was his little mannerisms and the little things he would do and his little ad libs and his little nuances of himself that he would put in there, like with the bat, with the teeth, and that little hand gesture, or in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where he's supposed to offer Neil like two things, and he goes, "Some coffee, just some coffee. Then how about some tea? No Slurpee, no lifesavers." Like where he just keeps going with things, and it's you don't get that anymore. I mean, you still get ad libs and still stuff like that, but you don't get the subtlety that John Candy had with a lot of things.
A lot of movies also don't have a lot of breathing room nowadays. It's just go, 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 go. Yeah, the older movies, things have a tendency to rest, or jokes have a tendency to breathe. You get a couple beats between things. Things are a little more slower paced, I want to say,
Hmm.
versus the movies nowadays where it's like, here's the next thing, and here's the next thing, and here's the next thing, and here's the Rock jumping onto a building. It's not to call out the Rock. I don't know why I did that.
So he's gonna be mad at you.
Or here's Chris Pratt jumping out of the airplane. There's just the pacing's a lot quicker in movies nowadays, at least in most movies. I know some take their time and let things linger, but
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that might be why, doing this podcast, we've gravitated towards older movies from the 90s and now the 80s. It's because of that structure. And I mean, not only the fact that we grew up with it, but like part of why we're at five classic movies in a row that we've watched and reviewed.
I've said it before, we say classic too much.
Like I said, every single movie we watch on the show is a classic. It just is. But going back to John Candy, his acting and the teeth bit, it's just, there's.
I forgot where we had started.
I remembered. Not just a hat rack, my friend.
That's good.
It's his acting choices. A lot of his subtle acting choices are what make him and his characters believable as a person. It's funny, but it's not. It's believable funny.
There's an earnestness there with the character.
Yeah. And now we've done 5 minutes on.
That's 14 times now.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you're still counting. So he's like, yeah, it's got, and it buzzed him. It buzzed
Yes.
me. Which, what is, what? What is a buzzing? What do you mean it
You know,
buzzed you?
it buzzed right over the top of your head. It buzzed you.
Bats don't buzz. Bees buzz.
Yes,
Hummingbirds
but
buzz.
no, you can get buzzed by anything that flies. Heck, you can get buzzed by a baseball if it goes right over your head. It's like it buzzes you. It's a buzz cut. It's going right up over the top of your head.
Is that what it is for like a buzz cut?
Yeah. If it had been clippers, it would have buzzed you.
Okay.
You gotta check my references check references on that.
Nope, we're gonna move on.
That's how I've always taken it. It
Okay,
buzzed.
I concede. It buzzed him. That is an
Yes.
accurate depiction of what happened. Description, not depiction. I digress.
It was the depiction too.
Yes. So they decide that the men need to get band together to get this 2 pound bat with,
15.
and so it cuts to them dressed up in homemade armor from whatever they could find, laying around the cabin, which means they had to have gone into the cabin with the bat to armor up to get the bat.
Yes. Don't think about it. They're armored up fighting the bat now.
Armored up fighting the bat. Yes, I thought about it too much. I just sometimes you just need to accept that they pieced this together, and we're in for some great slapstick.
Yes, we are.
I mean, it's the only real slapstick moment in the movie.
You don't count the skiing?
No.
He's going through the tall grass, he's rolling around in the water, he loses a ski, he goes over a little jump.
Yeah, I guess we can call that slapstick. To me, I don't know. I'm kind of making it more of like this is more like Three Stooges slapstick.
Like the golf ball in the face?
You make your point. So we're in for another rendition of some great slapstick. Jerk. But they eventually get the bat, and Roman, being the hero, smashes it with a fly swatter and kills it. I believe he kills it
Yeah.
instead of letting it outside. And I don't think the fly swatter would have killed a 2 pound bat.
Well, it's a 2-pound bat.
Oh, right. I actually believed him.
The thing was the size of a Tamagotchi.
You have a Tamagotchi?
It's a Pikachu Tamagotchi.
You have the Pikachu?
Yeah, from Gold and Silver.
Dude, I had the original one.
That's awesome.
That's too far of a derailment.
That's too far of a derailment from.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. But size comparison, it was a tiny bat. He just said it was 2 pounds to make it seem bigger than it actually was.
Right, and then the teeth.
The teeth, 16.
Does it count when you do it?
No, I'm counting you.
So we cut to Cammy and Buck meeting up. I don't remember where they met up at, because it's random scenes of them for like 2 minutes.
Just throughout town, near the carnival, near the restaurant, by a boat.
I think this is at the carnival again. I don't remember. Somewhere. And them meeting up, and they're talking about wanting to meet up, and so they agree on 8 p.m. at the bait shop. She says, "Oh, don't stand me up." And he's like, "Why would you say that? I haven't done that yet." And she goes, "I'm just anticipating it." And he's like, "If I stand you up, you have my permission to never speak to me for as long as we both shall live." Which, who talks like that?
Teenagers in a movie.
He has never talked anywhere close to that at any other point in the movie. I mean, he's trying to be sincere, I guess.
Yes, he's trying to say, "I'm not gonna stand you up. This is serious to me. I will meet you at the bait shop slash gas station for boats."
Yes, and maybe they're just kind of leaning into the fact of like it's an awkward. They're both just super awkward because it's their first real like relationship.
I suppose.
Well, because when they're in the boat, they both talk about how they have never had really had a boyfriend or girlfriend before.
Right, and they've decided that they're a real relationship.
Yeah, so it's like they really have no experience on dealing romantically. So maybe this just the awkwardness is just part of it. It's maybe it's supposed to be cute.
Could be. It's awkward teen angst.
It's awkward teen romance.
Yes.
It's not really angsty.
No, it's not really angsty, it's just awkward
Yeah.
teen.
So we're out to dinner. They're all looking at the menu, and they have a grown woman in pigtails.
What? Okay. Oh,
Excuse me. I'm
we
sorry.
we're adults. I do I do 2 podcasts, we can get through this.
We can and we will.
Okay.
So we're out to dinner at a restaurant. We're having dinner. Everyone together. It's like the one big going out meal that we're having. And I think it's Roman interrupts and says, "The old 96er, what's that?" And the waitress is like, "Oh, it's 96 ounces of our prime beef steak. And if anyone at your party eats it, orders it, and eats the whole thing, then everybody eats for free." So basically, we're at a food challenge. And jokingly, Roman says, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think, girls? Want to give it a shot?" And everyone, has a laugh. And then he looks over at Chet and goes, "What about you, Chet?" And I don't think it really takes much convincing. And Chet's just like, "Yeah, yeah, why not? That sounds like fun."
Yeah.
And
I like steak, I like a lot of steak. Let's do this.
hey, mate, I got a big appetite. It's implied that he can eat a lot with the 6 hot dogs earlier.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why not? If I can get this meal on the house, sure." And so it, cuts to them going into the meat freezer, and it sees this big slab of meat hanging on a meat hook. Then the chef brings it out to him and slaps it down in front of him.
This thing's like the size of a briefcase.
Fun fact about that is the steak they used for the slap down, it's a raw steak.
Oh,
So they get like a paste, almost like a stain like you'd use for wood,
okay.
but it's for meat. And so they put that on it, and then they use a torch and crisp the outside to make it look cooked,
Yeah.
but it's still raw in the middle. So when you slam it down, you have that wobble that meat gets, because a
Ah,
cooked steak won't do that. And
right.
plus, the size difference between it being raw and it being cooked. Steak shrinks up quite a bit when it's cooked.
Yeah.
So the one they show and the one he eats are two different steaks. And it shows him, first of all, that chef stays there for the entirety of him eating, of the eating challenge, is like right over his shoulder watching.
He's in the kitchen serving the other people.
Apparently the rest of his chefs are handling that. So he's gonna watch this guy eat this meat. And he draws up quite a bit of attention from the locals that are also having dinner and are watching, and he's slowly dwindling this thing down. He's doing pretty well, but
Taking the smallest bites ever, too.
I know he's enjoying his steak.
Yeah, but you can enjoy it with bigger bites.
True. I don't know. It's definitely they're painting the start of this scene to where he is very confident. He's going to enjoy this. It's going to be more fun than anything, and he's pretty much got this in the bag. Is kind of what I'm getting from Chet's whole demeanor in the beginning of this challenge.
Yes. And it's just the steak. There's no sides on it. There's no potatoes or vegetables. It's just eat this 96-pound steak or ounce steak.
I did the math on it, so it works out to 6 pounds.
Oh.
It's a 6 pound steak.
That's a lot of steak.
It is a lot of steak because I like to watch like competitive eaters online now,
Okay.
and they're eating like I saw I forget his name, but somebody was doing a 76er, and that was way bigger than the steak in the Great Outdoors.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. It looked way bigger. It didn't look as thick, but it looked like wider. So I don't know. But I've seen a lot of food challenges because the internet's a thing now, and a lot of people make a really good living online posting their eating challenges. And so I've seen people eat a lot more than 6 pounds.
Okay.
So I don't know if it, but these are also professional eaters, and we're talking some guy from Chicago.
Right.
But I think I've digressed pretty good. So he's eating this thing, and he's making good progress. And then he's over halfway through, and you can tell it's a struggle for him. And then,
He's got the meat sweats coming on.
yep, and he's down to the last bite, and of course Roman's there going, all right, I think that about takes care of it. Might not go down right away, but it will. And then he's trying to haggle with, if I can get a dessert down him, can we get some hats for the girls? Like trying to get more free stuff. And the chef's like, "Oh, that's not the last bite." He goes, "Well, sure it is. There's nothing left on that but fat and gristle." And then the chef weirdly raises his eyebrows and opens his eyes and smiles. Yeah, I can't do it. And there's a lot of John Candy or Chet's like, "No, no more," and his wife's even like, "Oh God, no." And then it cuts to him walking out and everyone clapping and cheering, and he's got the shirt. I ate the whole 96er.
Yeah.
And then they also have hats. So did he get the desserts too? Did
I'm
they?
saying
Did
yes.
Roman force him to eat dessert after that?
They got the hats.
That's mean. That dude ate gristle.
Gristle's hard.
Have you like I like steak, and I don't particularly hate fat on steak,
Yeah.
but like that's if I'm cutting a piece and it's got a little fat on the end, I'll go ahead and not bad.
Right.
I'm not taking a whole mouthful of fat. That was like a whole side of
And
the steak.
it's not warm hot fat at this point. It's
Cold, congealed, like Dick's fries.
no. Don't call out Dick's like that. Dick's has some of the best fries.
Dick's has some of the best fries in the world until they get cold.
True. Okay. Yep, you're right.
That's what they turn
Okay.
into. No, shout out to Dick's. If you've never been to the Seattle area before and you're gonna go visit, go to Dick's. Get a deluxe. I promise
Eat
you.
your eat your fries
Will
first.
eat your fries first and get a Dick's Deluxe. You will not find a better hamburger anywhere than the Dick's Deluxe. Fast food wise. I mean, let's be real. Shout out to Dick's. So he wins. And I kind of glossed over during this whole eating competition thing, we see Buck looking at his watch.
Yes.
And
Yes, we see
and
Buck. Sorry.
go ahead.
No, no, I was just stepping on your toes.
Were you just chiming in to repeat exactly what I said and add nothing else?
No, I was gonna add that we're also seeing the girl,
Cammy
Tammy, sitting at the bait shop.
drinking a Pepsi,
Yes.
waiting.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna go on two separate tangents here.
Yay, tangents.
First of all, and Rachel pointed this out when we were watching it. First of all, way earlier, Chet said, "Hey, if you meet anybody and you make friends, bring them by, and we'd love to meet them," implying that go make friends. So that being said, he has a date where he's supposed to be meeting up with someone. He's done dinner. They're now at everyone has finished their meal and they're watching Chet eat. Why at this point can Buck not be like, "Hey dad, I am going to go meet my friend. I'm supposed to meet my friend at 8 at the bait shop. It's quarter till. I've eaten, we've all eaten. Is it okay if I take off now?"
Because that's responsible, and teens aren't responsible.
Okay.
I don't know. That makes sense. It's like, good luck, Dad. I gotta meet somebody. Cool if I go? Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, they're not doing anything except sitting there watching this dude eat.
Right. Cheering him on, but it's been a while, so the cheers are like, yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a while. I don't remember there being a time limit for this challenge.
No, I don't think there was.
Okay.
Might have been.
Let's see. And so then to my next point, is it just me or is Cammy okay? So she starts out as like this. If she was in a '90s sitcom, she'd be wearing a leather jacket
Okay, yes.
type of girl.
Yes.
She has in every scene we see her in, she gets more dimples, so to speak.
Okay.
She looks younger and more innocent each time we run into her.
Okay.
Is that true? Or am I like,
There's definitely a bunch of inconsistencies with her character,
yeah,
I would say.
because she's complete like at this point she's a completely different person from when we first saw her shooting
Yeah.
pool in the pool hall with her jacket and then smoking a cigarette after
Yeah, because she should be smoking a cigarette at the bait shop there.
waiting, not drinking a
Yeah.
pop. Like definitely. So that was just an observation of mine. Is like she seems to be
Inconsistent.
become yeah inconsistent because she seemed really old and like tough and whatnot, and now she seems young and naive, if so to speak, young and innocent.
Yeah. And I mean, that could be because she's being more vulnerable now as opposed to standoffish.
Right, but her whole style changing,
Yeah.
I just it's the character didn't seem very thought out to me, which led me to believe that the love story was an after.
Could be too why she never met the anybody else in the family.
That was just some thoughts that I have. And then we go back to the raccoons, and the raccoons are looking, and they're like, "Oh, the trash cans aren't there," and they go, "Oh, the idiots put them in the house," implying that they're going to break in the house and get into the trash. Which, if they could just break into the house, why are they going through the trash in the first place?
Yes.
And so they get the family gets back to the cabin, and they discover that the raccoons have gotten into the trash, and they're all just kind of like observing, like, oh, they got into the trash, this and that. And then Chet, or not Chet, Roman, the genius that he is, goes, "Oh my gosh, look at the size of the maggots on that meat," which leads Chet to throw up.
Yes.
But he's already achieved victory and didn't have to pay for dinner, so throw up all you want, bro.
Correct. And there's a blooper in that scene.
Is there?
Yeah, so when Chet runs to the bathroom and you can see Roman kind of go after him a little bit, you can see him going 1, 2, 3, counting with his fingers for
Oh,
basically everybody that's over there. And that's as soon as he throws up, that's when they all scream and run like ah. So he's giving a count to the rest of the actors to know when the throw up's going to happen.
okay. Because they added the throw up later.
Yeah, because I saw him with his hand counting out 1, 2, 3. So I looked it up really quick, and it's like, yeah, he was supposed to be behind the pillar doing it, so they didn't see him directly, but it was
Yeah, I totally missed it. So, but I did gloss over one thing because before they get back to the house, Buck finally shows up at the bait shop and she's not there, and so he punches her soda pop can.
he's frustrated.
Dang it, I missed her. I'm an hour late. How late is he? You think?
I would say an hour. I feel she waited till like 8:30,
Okay,
or was it supposed to be 8:30? No, they met at 8. They're supposed to meet at 8. I feel like she waited till 8:30, and he's there by 9,
okay, that makes sense.
which seems like a late dinner. But
Well, it probably started at 7,
yeah, I suppose
so they probably got there. They had 7 reservations for 7. You know, you get there, you still wait around for about 10 minutes, then you get seated.
it was dark when they got there, right? Outside.
Yeah, it was about dark.
Why do we? Never mind.
But it's Canada in the summertime, so that means it gets. Yeah. So if you're,
we've
why
we
do we always
we've
do this?
I was gonna say we've used the sun and the time difference to try and justify things in several movies. I know this movie was shot in October, November.
The movie was, but it takes place in summer break.
Yeah, but
Anyway, okay, so 5 a.m. rolls around, right? And the sun's coming up,
yeah,
and fellas are going fishing, and it's like it's just that was it Twilight's the morning, right?
yes, Twilight's the morning.
Yeah, so they're out there. Yeah, basically Twilight. They're out there in the boat, getting ready, trying to fish. They're doing the argument. Where's the worms? Where's the flashlight? Where's this? Where's that? No, they're not worms. They're leeches. And then they, they do the joke of, all right, everyone, hook your leeches. 1, 2, 3. Ew. And then it cuts to many hours later. I'm assuming.
I'm guessing about 9 o'clock, 8 or
That's what
9.
I'm thinking too. Yeah, so about 3, 4 hours after. I'd say about 3 hours. So they probably got out there. It's probably about they probably get out there by 6. So yeah, 8:30, a couple hours in the boat,
Yeah,
and they wake up covered in leeches, and they're freaking out over it. It's funny.
just a short scene of something else they're doing on this trip. That's
Just to, yeah, I guess not. It doesn't. It's not really essential to the plot. It's just kind of
yeah.
fun.
I mean, Same with the go-karts and the golfing. It's had nothing to do with anything. It's like, hey, they're doing other stuff this weekend.
Yeah, well, they're there for a whole week.
Right.
They established that
That's what I meant,
early
week.
on that they're there for a week. And maybe the whole boat thing is to set up that they're down at the lake and Buck uses the payphone, which you won't see in any movies recently. And he uses the payphone to call Cammy at work because somehow he knows her work number by heart.
Looked it up in the yellow pages.
Sure. He calls her. So he calls her work. Someone else answers. He has to talk to her. She clearly knows who it is and says no. And dude's like, can I take a message? And he leaves the message, and she's right there listening, so she knows. And she looks angry. And
Yes.
then it starts to rain. It's raining. That's right. The rain is what woke him up in the boat.
Yes.
And then we're back at the cabin, and everyone is inexplicably mad.
Everybody's mad.
Everyone's mad for I don't really know why they're mad. And Rachel pointed out that maybe they're just mad because they're in close quarters. They're just on top
It,
of each other because it's raining and no one can go anywhere.
it was a rough morning fishing. Everybody pulled leashes off themselves. Buck's upset. His girlfriend's mad at him. Roman and Chet are upset. It's raining and they have to be inside. It was just the leeches was one step too far. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, everybody's grumpy
Yeah, I don't know why the women are grumpy.
because their men are grumpy.
Maybe it kind of makes sense that Chet and
Roman.
Roman are in bad moods because Roman probably didn't even want to go fishing. He got drug along. Then he's covered in leeches. He's soaking wet. They still have to deal with all the fishing gear and the boat. Chet's probably grumpy because it's just one more thing on this trip that's going wrong. Benny, I don't think Benny's really mad.
Benny's just kind of there.
And then, like you said, Buck's upset because first of all, probably didn't get enough sleep. And then his little lady friend's mad at him. And he's worried. He's only got 2 days left. And he's like, I literally might never see her again.
Well, and it's raining on vacation. That kind of frustrates people too.
Yeah. Especially when you're out in the wilderness and you have to be stuck in a cabin with people that you didn't invite to be there. And then they eventually start taking their anger out on each other. There's arguing going on. Roman says that they ruined their vacation, and Chet's like, what are you talking about? We didn't even invite you here.
Right.
First, and it all starts over like Chet trying to light a fire and Roman being like, that's not how you do it.
Yeah, that was kind of the catalyst, the fire. It was just one more thing that Roman was harping on, and Chet had kind of had enough. Everybody's grumpy because of the rain, the leeches, and everything.
Yeah, well, and Roman spent the whole movie telling Chet how to do things without actually doing anything himself.
Right. This is how you do it. You should do it that way.
But he's not actually doing anything. And then they start all getting mad at each other because then Chet's like, I'm balling it so I can heat up the flue before I start the fire. And Roman's like, he's warming up the flue while the rest of us are freezing. And then Connie chimes in with, well, I'm not really cold. And then Kate fires back with, oh, thanks for sharing, sarcastically. And then that's when we get into, well, you're ruining my vacation. You weren't invited in the first place. I don't know what you're doing here. Oh, I think they want us to leave. There you go. Get out, pack your stuff, and bye. And so they go upstairs to start packing, and they're taking cheap shots at each other. And then they basically come back down, getting ready to leave, and everyone starts telling everybody to blow it out their rear. No, first it's Roman and Chet are about to get into a fist fight. So Chet's like, how would you like a dent in your forehead? And then Kate steps in, and he looks over and he goes, how would you like one to match? Which... wow, couldn't get away with that nowadays. That would not have gone over well.
No.
And then Buck steps in and goes, all right, Dad, no one's getting a dent in their forehead. And Roman's like, oh, thanks, Buck. And then Buck throws his shirt at him and tells him to bite the big one. He goes, yeah, I'll bite the big one, Uncle Roman. And it's like, whoa, hang on. And then the Connie gets involved and is like, you don't talk to grown-ups like that. And Roman's like, yeah, because it's rude. And then she goes, oh, blow it out your rear. And that's when we start the whole domino effect of everyone telling everyone to blow it out their rear.
Yeah.
Finally, Connie steps in and goes, all right, no one's blowing anything out their rear. And they throw poor Benny a bone because he's the only one that didn't get to say the bad word. By the way, they didn't actually say rear in the movie if you haven't seen it. They say a bad word. I'm just not going to use it. But everyone's gotten to say it so far except little Benny. And so after all is said and done, he gets to have the last line of, "Well, you might as well just blow the whole family out your rear." I'm pretty sure that was just them throwing him a bone. Like, you could say it, I guess. And so they're back, Roman's getting ready to walk out the door, and he basically tells Chet that he came up here to offer him a chance at a good investment opportunity. Completely just tells him this story about his wedding, how Chet had called him a crooked. He overheard it and just really laying on the guilt, and Chet says that he doesn't have the 25,000 that Roman's looking for, but he can come up with some and then maybe make a deal with the bank on Monday. And then he turns to Connie and asks if she has a checkbook, and she's kind of like, yeah, and her face is saying, "What are you doing? I told you no."
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Roman and Craig leaving. Roman Craig is his name. Roman and Kate is his wife, and they're leaving, and he's holding the check from Chet, and Kate is just like, "Wow, what a testament to the family that we can get along and be at each other's throats. But when it comes down to what really matters and looking out for each other, we still have each other's back, even though we're mad at each other, and how great it is for Chet to trust you with his financial well-being. That's a lot of money for them. What he gave you, it's might be Buck and Ben's college funds that he's trusting you with a good return investment on. And he's gonna take a loan from the bank. Like it really speaks a lot to how trustworthy and honorable. And that's when Roman hits the brakes and turns around, and then it goes to Buck at the carnival again,
Yes.
and literally the same place that he ran into Cammy the first time. And she's standing right there, and she watches him walk by, and you can see her. She thinks about going to him, and then it's like, no, I'm standing my ground. And that's pretty much all we get from that. And then we're back at the cabin to Roman ripping up the check.
Guilt hit Roman hard on the drive.
It was too much. He went back, he ripped the check, and he's like, "Honey, you got to sit down for what I'm about to say." And then we find out that he left his girls in the car, and it's pouring down rain, and they decide that they're gonna go to the mine, I guess.
Yep.
And
They hop out of the car and take off.
before they take off, they finally say the first lines in the movie.
Yeah.
Yep. They say, "Okay, let's go." That's the first time they have spoken this whole movie. And they run off into the woods. Great idea. Middle of the night, pouring down rain, middle of the woods. Let's go running in woods
Yep.
to find this mine. And basically, it cuts back to Roman, and he's talking about how he made some bad investments a couple years back, and he almost lost his job, but he got demoted. He's now just an assistant for somebody. He goes and gets coffee, and he's basically lost everything. And they're pretty much down and out.
Yeah. That's why their vacation plans changed. That's why they just kind of showed up here.
Right. And he was been spending the last 2 years trying to save face with his family and pretend like everything's fine. And then it cuts to Reg running, and lightning strikes, and he's now been struck in the head 67 times by lightning. So I remember laughing at that because I'm like, oh, 67 times now. Poor guy. And then this last time I watched it, and I'm going, there's no follow up.
He just gets hit in the head with lightning,
He
collapses.
And that's the last we see of Reg.
I assume he's going to be okay.
It's that 67th time that'll kill you. But I'm just saying, like maybe some follow up for Reg would have been nice.
Maybe. Did you watch the whole thing after the credits? Maybe there's after credits scene of him getting up.
I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
We'll get to that when we get to that. So we're back to the cabin, and the power goes out, and that's when they realize that the girls are missing.
Yes.
They're all kind of, did you see her? When did you see her? And I want to know how Buck got back.
Slipped in. And one thing I noticed when the power is going out, they're giving Chet a hard time about the power going out, like he had something to do with it.
Yeah, something's going on, and he's just, yeah, like you said, he's the punching bag of the entire movie. So then it cuts to the girls looking for the mine, and they're looking for the mine, and then it cuts to the dads looking for them, and then the wives stayed back to get candles or whatnot to get the cabin lit up and whatnot, and as while they're doing that, the power comes back on. Yay.
Yay, power.
Don't really see much point in the power having gone out in the first place.
Just to show how bad the storm is.
Then the power comes back on.
They've got a decent power grid. I don't.
That's a stretch.
It's something that happens. I mean, you've been in storms before. The power fluctuates.
Sure. And then we go back to the girls. They have found the mine, and then they fall down it.
It's that setup from earlier.
Basically, yeah. And then the dads find the mine. They're kind of just reaching to wrap this up quick, aren't they? At this point.
I mean, I don't know if they're wrapping it up quick, but it's getting close to the end, and they gotta finish.
Yeah, they got to close out the story, I guess.
Yeah,
So Chet has a pep talk with Roman, basically, once they get there, of like, you need to man up, you need to be the dad to these kids for once in your life. Climb down there and get them out of there.
right. Because Roman's trying to get Chet to go down in the mine and get him.
Because he does a lot of making other people do things for him. And Chet's just like, no, just do it. And so Roman's climbing down the mine and Chet's running off to go get lights and a rope.
Yep,
Because apparently he knows the woods like the back of his hand.
he's been there before.
Sure, I guess that means he knows it well. So yeah, Roman gets down there and he finds the girls, talks to them, and says, "Hey, climb on my back. I'm gonna get you out of here."
For being at the bottom of a mine shaft, it's pretty light down there.
Yes, it is. Full moon.
During a rainstorm.
Sure. It is very light down there. It's super easy to see. He finds them quickly. They found a place to sit. The water is filling up, but it's not too high. It's
Looks like
ideal
they're sitting
mine.
on dynamite crates.
They are sitting on dynamite crates. It's not. It doesn't look like it. It is that.
Yeah.
And this way he's like, "Oh, old it's dynamite. It's old wet dynamite. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. Let's just get out of here, though.
Yeah.
Climb on, and I'll carry you out." And so he climbs up the little slide that they slid down,
Yeah, he's got both of them on his back.
and then it's actually kind of a sweet scene where they're out and they turn around and they reach out and grab his hands and pull him the rest of the way up.
Help pull him out, and then
Yeah.
he picks them both up and runs off.
Yeah. And no one's communicated with, I mean, you can't communicate, there weren't cell phones then, but like they're not hanging around to wait for Chet. They know Chet's coming back to the mine. They're so, I'll figure out we're not here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long they waited down there before he decided to just throw him on his back and try climbing out.
Yeah, because it seems like, because Chet comes back with the rope, and it seems like he wasn't gone too long.
I mean, it does say sorry it was so long, so maybe it took a little while.
Yeah, but it doesn't tip him off that there's no response.
Nope, he
So,
just throws the rope down there and starts feeling a tug on it.
right. And we get to see that there is a bald-headed bear like the one from his story
Yep.
down there, and he's wrapping the rope around the tree. He's pulling, and he's essentially pulling the bear out of the mine.
Yeah.
He is
The,
helping that bear get out of the mine.
the bear has bit the rope and he's tugging on the rope. The bear's climbing up this thing using the rope for support.
And then he comes face to face with the bear, and he starts running through the woods. And during the chase scene, Wally wakes up and sits up in bed.
Yes, right after what the bear roars.
Right, he heard it.
Yeah,
Oh, is that what they were going for?
I think so.
Okay, makes sense then. And so, yeah, you have this running scene of John Candy running from a bear, and
Yeah.
the bear has clearly caught up with this man
Yes.
multiple times, but it's a trained bear, and the job is to not kill John Candy. They let him get back to his cabin, where he shuts the door, and everyone's casually in a good mood and making food, and Connie's making sandwiches.
Like, oh hey, you made it back. Where were you?
Yeah, where were you? What were you doing outside? We found the girls. Where were you? Just all nonchalant and happy.
Yeah.
And he's just like, bear, big bear chase, big bear chase me. And then the bear busts through the door, and we have a very, I don't know, I didn't really care for the bear attack scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of fun, but I don't know.
So the bear pushes the door down, so he's standing on the door on top of John Candy.
Jump
On
it,
on
and
top
jumps up and
on
down.
top of Chet, just jumping on him like dog pile almost, just
Right. It's very, very non-realistic of a bear attack.
Yeah, but everybody else is freaking out. The Catherine?
Kate,
No, the other one.
Connie,
Connie. Connie, Chet's wife and Buck kind of jump behind the counter in the kitchen. Kate, the twins, and Ben are upstairs on the little landing thing at the top of the stairs, and Roman's in the living room on the back behind the couch with a fire poker.
right.
And the bear comes in and
Yeah, and see, I was okay with him busting through the door and it being like he's jumping on the door, and it's kind of fun and funny. And then it turns into like a serious bear attack real fast.
Yeah, the bear's going for the Connie and Buck in the kitchen, and Roman's trying to get the bear's attention to get away and get up the stairs.
Right. And then Chet gets up, picks up the door, puts it back, and then stands.
I'm sitting there watching this like, why would he put the door back up?
And then he leans back against it to block the bear again, and goes, big bear juice, big bear juice feet. So he's clearly still in shock.
Yeah.
And then he gets knocked over again by Wally with the shotgun lamp.
Yep. The shotgun lamp is back.
And then that's apparently enough to knock him to his senses, because
Yeah.
Wally plugs in the shotgun lamp and aims it, but doesn't fire. And Chet grabs the gun and shoots the bear in the backside, and the bear gets upset and embarrassed and runs off.
Yes, because now it has a bald head and a bald bottom.
Yes, bald on both ends. And so the bear runs off. We are at the next day, and they're all packing up. Chet and Roman are making dad jokes.
Yep.
It's kind of great. It's fun. Telling the girls, all right, to your seats. In the trunk. Ha 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 ha. Lame little things that dads say.
Yeah.
And Buck is on the dock and decides he's going to talk to Cammy just out in the open and apologize or whatever. And then she's like, oh, like she was clearly just standing off frame the whole time. Like, did you not hear her walking up behind?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, do city boys always talk to themselves? And like, he turns and she's right there. And it's like, she had to have been there.
He was in his own little world.
Sure, but it's not like it was a short walk from anywhere. Also, oh, I was thinking, also, how did she know where they were staying? But they were out on the boat.
Yeah.
So she knew when they were leaving, and so she came to say goodbye. I don't know. The dock wasn't really the best spot for that because of how out in the middle of everywhere it is.
Yeah.
So if he would have been like packing up and then like turned around to go back into the cabin and grab something, and she was like coming around the cabin.
Yeah, that would probably been a better meetup, I guess. But I mean, it's still a weird B plot.
It's yeah, it's very strange. And so she basically wants him to go back to Chicago as a lovesick boy who won't be able to even look at another girl without comparing that girl to her. And to me, he says that sounds great. And to me, that sounds a little unhealthy.
Yeah, are they going to try and do this long distance, or is he going to come back next summer? Or
And that would have been something too, because I mean, Canada to the United States, that's a problem.
yeah,
Without there being internets or anything like the modern technologies we have now. Back in '88, it was a long distance phone call, and it was to another country, and you're looking at like $2 a minute.
yeah, unless you're writing letters,
Even then, though, I mean, that's
stamps.
how stamps, but like just how long is that going to last?
Yeah, I very kind of just with the whole relationship thing.
Yeah, it didn't. It wasn't. Well, they kiss.
Oh,
Yay, good for them. And then we're back at Roman and Chet,
so
and they're.
so is that the second best romance in a movie that we've had so far, or
I'm gonna put that at the bottom. I think that was worse than Tremors.
or Tommy Boy? I was gonna count My Cousin Vinny, but that was already an established relationship. It wasn't something that came up in a movie. So we've
No,
had the Tommy Boy relationship, the Tremors relationship, and then the Uncle Buck relationship. Not Uncle Buck, the Great Outdoors relationship with Buck.
and I want to hate it so much, and I didn't really care for it, and I want to say it was the worst one. But if I'm really being honest, out of Tommy Boy, Tremors, and The Great Outdoors, that still had the most effort put into it.
True. I mean, they did spend more time together than any other relationships.
Yeah, and they had more scenes with it, as poorly thought out as it was, and cringy as it was, and just red flag after red flag. I mean, I guess not red flag after red flag, but it was definitely there. It had a lot of problems.
Okay, so we have a winner for best relationship at the moment.
The Great Outdoors.
Yeah,
Okay,
best new relationship.
best new relationship in a movie so far is The Great Outdoors. Didn't
Yes.
think it would be, but actually, after talking about it and really comparing it with thought, yeah, it is the best one,
Okay.
and it's not good.
No, it's not. Hopefully, we get some better ones.
We'll see.
We'll see. That'll be our thing we look at every episode.
Yeah, every episode with a movie with a love story.
Yeah, it's got one either thrown in or shoehorned in or
Yeah. But so we're at Roman and Chet at the cars talking about, oh, what a trip. It's been interesting. And then Roman says, yep, well, I'll race you home. And Chet's like, okay. And Roman leaves and he's sitting there. He's like, race you home. Why would he say race me home? He lives way out the other way. And Connie's like, it's only till they get on their feet. And then he's like, what? And Connie's like, nope, we have plenty of room and it won't be long. And it's better than him taking a loan from us, right? And he's like, oh, all right. And then Buck comes up and they have a cool father-son handshake that they do. And then it says, now get your butt in the car because we got to beat Uncle Roman home.
yeah, because if they don't beat him home, that he gets the good spot in the garage.
Right. And you know he's going to take it.
Yeah.
And so they jump in the car and they drive off. And then we cut to a closing scene of a random dance party.
Yes.
They're all at the lodge dancing to music.
That was one of the nights we didn't see while they were just having fun.
Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm assuming, yeah, that's what it is. So, yeah, you have your end credits while they're doing this little dance party thing. Did you watch the whole dance party?
I did not watch the whole dance party.
Okay. So the dance party ends, and we go back to Reg.
Oh, oh, good.
No, we don't. I'm
Oh,
lying. You had mentioned it, and so I was like, oh, that would be funny to do at the end of this episode. What really happens is the dance party ends, and we have another closing scene with the raccoon.
oh, okay.
I don't remember anything that was said because I thought it was done, and so I went to get ready for bed and just let the movie play. And then I see the raccoons. So I'm like, oh my gosh, a raccoon scene. So the raccoons have a final scene, and then the movie closes, and we roll credits, and that is The Great Outdoors. You want to go first with your thoughts?
That was a good. It was a very good movie. I enjoyed it for all the faults with the love story and everything. I enjoyed the simplicity of the movie where it's just. I mean, there's not a lot to it. It's a family on vacation. Another part of his family shows up, and it's just, I guess, a slice of life type story. I mean, there's the, oh, I'm broke, I need to steal money from you, but that's so there's not a lot of build up to it. It's just, I mean, he's talking about this deal the whole time and gets the money, and all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, I'm broke. Here you go, and it's solved within minutes. It's not like something that gets drawn out. It's a fun movie, and I really enjoyed it. What about you?
I agree. It is a great, fun movie.
Trying to
I
avoid the
think
saying classic.
it's classic 80s. No, no, I think you touched on a lot of the really good points. It is by no is it's hard to say because it is a wonderful and enjoyable movie. As far as plot goes, it is not a great movie.
No, I
It
mean, there's not a plot. It's a family on vacation.
it's a family on vacation, and it seems like if I had to guess how it came to be, I would say that they came up with like this movie about a family going on vacation, and then they got most of it done, and then they're like, oh, we need to figure out a resolution or a conclusion to this. So now we have to come up with a conclusion and a problem to solve and a love story. And so, because everything else feels, I mean, not super planned out, but like majority of your movie is just a family on vacation. It's fun. It's fun to watch. You don't have to watch it closely. You can put it on with kids or with your family and just kind of half watch it and still enjoy it and kind of
Just a
drift
bu-
in. What?
as I say, just a bunch of comedic bits.
Yeah, just kind of come in and out of it. And then they were like, well, this doesn't really make for a movie because we kind of have to. How do you end a movie like that? They just leave and nothing happens. And so they added in the bear scene to tie it to the movie with the mine shaft. So it kind of seemed more together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't have much of a plot. It doesn't have much of a love story. What it does have is it has great acting. It has good scenes. It has
Heart.
lovable characters. It has heart, and it is extremely relatable as a movie about just your run of the mill everyday family going on vacation. And it's extremely rewatchable, and I've seen it quite a few times. And if I see it coming on TV, I'm gonna sit down and watch it because I like it that much and it's that rewatchable.
That sounds good. I mean, Dan Aykroyd and John Candy are always a joy to watch too, and just it's fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. And actually, I read that Dan Aykroyd is talking about doing a sequel to it. He's just looking for another John Candy type.
Interesting.
I think we've said all we need to say about the great outdoors.
I think so. I don't have any more tidbits of information.
So next would be
Next movies I think is gonna be different. I know I said this about My Cousin Vinny, and I believe it's an underrated movie. I don't think it's someone you've seen before. I didn't see it till about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit, or it's been a while since I've seen it too. Anyway, it's got some big names in it. It's got Steve Buscemi in it. It's got Brendan Fraser in it. It's got Adam Sandler in it.
okay.
It's the movie Airheads. Have you seen it?
I have never seen Airheads.
Perfect.
Okay.
We're doing Airheads next. And like I said, I believe it's an underrated movie because I'd seen it the cover here and there, and I remember really enjoying it. So we'll see how this goes. But it's, I mean, Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler, right? That sounds good.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And now for something completely different, Airheads.
Airheads it is.
You excited?
All right. I am excited. I kind of worry about when we do this because I'm like, depending on, because I have my movies picked out. So like it's like we were doing the Great Outdoors, and so I was thinking about my next movie,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna pick? Because like I had one in mind, and then you picked My Cousin Vinny, and I'm like, I cannot do this one because it's another court scene movie. We can't do that back to back.
Right. Like we don't want to do two road trip movies back to back.
Right. Or just like we don't want to do, say, two Adam Sandler movies,
Right. Right.
or two Brendan Fraser movies back to back, or two Steve Buscemi movies back to back. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
But no, you didn't step on the toes of my next movie at all.
Awesome.
So I'm still
Great.
torn between two.
Okay. I've got a big list of movies too. So we'll
Oh,
I'm flexible with mine. If you come up with something like, okay, this is too close to that, we'll deviate and change. But
okay, because I don't have a big list. When it becomes time to record my next movie,
yeah.
that's when I'll start thinking of my next one after that.
Okay. I say big list. It's got like 6 on it.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
Thank you for coming with us on our adventure through the great outdoors. Join us next time as we take a look at Airheads. As always, our intro and outro music is provided by Nihilore, that intro being Grace and that outro being Haven. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can do that via Twitter at WatchItBroPod, or you can email us at watchitbropodcast@gmail.com. And as always,
Thanks for watching.